So grassroots, semi-professional, other sports. I've seen a few people come on board who are interested in other sports as well. So that's great. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to shed some light on the magic that is football analysis in the Premier League. So the webinar structure will be sort of 10-15 minutes, myself and Sean having a chat about Burnley and what he does there, what the role of an analyst is, and in general how the academy works from his perspective. We'll then go to a session plan where he will sort of show how he feeds back and how he speaks to players and what there is to look for when it comes to video analysis. And then at the end, we'll take questions and have a general Q&A and hopefully answer the questions that you are most concerned with. So let's start. First question for you, Sean. Really, I think people want to know, because we have people from a lot of different backgrounds here, some analysts, some non-analysts, some coaches, some even parents, volunteers, etc., who won't know a lot about analysis and how analysis operates in an academy. What is an analyst role within a football club, particularly, obviously, Burnley?
Yeah, so my role really is to obviously help the coaches, which in aid helps the players on the pitch. My role really is to sort of coach, but using video to aid the players and also to aid the coaches as well. So there's a lot of studies showing that coaches don't really remember a lot if they're just watching a game. So with the use of like video, we can sort of educate the coaches and show clips and basically just help the players ultimately.
Yeah, I think what it's important to note is that the role of video is all about player development, right? It's all about making sure that players are doing the right things on the pitch, and it's proof that you can show to players instead of barking orders at them, etc., that the coaches do on the side of the pitch. Where do you use video at Burnley? Sort of what age groups? I know that you've spoken to me before, and you use it for the 23s and the under 18s, but what age groups do you use VO at, and why in the different age groups and different age categories do you use it?
Yeah, so we use it from all the way down to our youngest age group, which is the under 9s, all the way up to the under 23s. Obviously, we use it in sort of different aspects. I'd say from sort of the under 15s upwards, it might start to get a bit more tactical in the way that we use the video. Obviously, there's great features on the VO, which is where we can show full pitch. We can scroll and see where every player is on the pitch. But for under 9s to sort of under 12s, we use it for sort of like positive montage videos, just sort of like reinforcement, good things, positive clips. And yeah, young lads these days love watching themselves, love watching tricks and things like that. So we like to collate all those good positive things, show them, and hopefully just reinforce the positive stuff that they do at that age, which hopefully will carry them on through the academy.
Yeah, I think that's really important to what you said there about the positive reinforcement. As you said, to me earlier today, an analyst used to be quite aggressive in the way that they gave feedback, I suppose, and hammer players for not getting back and not tracking their runner and not making that pass, etc. But for you, especially at a younger level, it's really important for that positive reinforcement, right?
Yeah, exactly right. I think even when I first started, like 6 or 7 years ago, a lot of the analysis that we did was very like team based, and I was getting the feeling that a lot of the players thought when it's time for analysis, it's time for sort of like seeing bad things that we've done wrong, a bit of a grilling, telling off from the coach. But I think the way it's developed analysis, it's getting a bit more showing positive things and positive like reinforcement and where they're actually doing really, really well, and just highlighting and not really sort of ramming it down the throat of where they're doing bad, but just showing lots of positive things, and hopefully they can keep doing that week in, week out on the pitch.
Yeah, yeah. I think, as you said, especially at the younger age groups, it's far more important to be positive than negative, which I think has been a bit of a shift in terms of time. I think 10 years ago, when people were growing up, it was coaches were there to berate and to correct, whereas now they're there to reinforce people's ability and develop them as players, rather than this win at all costs directive that used to be in place, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've had games this year, especially in the older age groups, where we might have lost, but the feedback after a game has been really positive. And then there's been games where we've won and the feedback's not been so positive. So I think in an academy setting, winning isn't really the be end and end all. It's more about sort of showing the positive aspects that the player's doing. So yeah, like first team and academy is very different. I think Gaffer wouldn't mind having a bad game but and winning.
Yeah.
But, I think in an academy, I think it's very important for the skills and what they're capable of, really.
Yeah, it's very different, obviously, when the chips are down and you've got millions of pounds on the line. It doesn't matter how you win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
For sure. All right. And would you say what is more important, focusing on the player themselves or the team? You know, and how has that evolved within your academy?
Yeah, so like I said, when I first started at Burnley, sort of seven years ago, the analysis was very team based, which wasn't wrong. It's still not wrong, but we felt that we lost focus with the players quite a bit when we did it in team. So we might be focusing on in an analysis session. We might be focusing on defending or stopping crosses, and you might have 5 or 6 attacking players in there where the clips that are in the presentation are not really relevant to them. And especially with the younger age groups, they sort of turn off a little bit, sort of head back, just a little bit.
Yeah.
So the last couple of years, mainly, we've really gone down with like unit analysis. So we'll have 4 or 5 players in at a time, maybe the back 4, the keeper. We'll just have the attackers in or midfield. Or we might just have like 1 player in just to show him maybe 2 or 3 clips. And we find that it's a lot more beneficial. We get a lot more feedback from the player. We just get a lot more buy-in. And I feel like you know that the player understands what the coach is trying to tell them in smaller groups. Obviously, we still do a lot of team meetings where the information has to be for the whole team. Maybe where we're doing like a pre-match opposition analysis, and the whole team does have to be in there. But me personally and the coaches have bought in really well, and we've found time during the week. And I feel like smaller group analysis is probably the way forward.
Yeah, I think as someone who's learned before and been in sort of those sort of classroom situations with, you know, coaches at the front talking to you directly and talking to the team, having more contact time, I suppose, and more focused contact time as yourself as an individual player or an individual unit is arguably, you know, more effective than speaking to a whole team or having a team talk. For instance, because football is so granular now. You've only got to look at Liverpool with their throwing coaches and you know, Pep with his different squares that he draws on the pitch. It's such a granular game, and it's so focused on individuals and units, etc. That it was always going to go this way.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the way the game's going, there'll be coaches for different units. So that we'll have a back 4 coach, you'll have a goalkeeper coach, you'll have a striker coach. You'll have all these different things, and I do feel like that's the way that it's going. So to do it in smaller, shorter analysis sessions as well, not just getting lads in and showing them things for an hour where they're switching off, sort of short, sharp presentations. I feel like the players come out with it a lot, like with benefit benefit from it more.
Yeah, for sure. And for you, you obviously, take players in on an individual basis, and you focus on individual players quite a bit as well as units.
Mm-hmm.
Is it important to pair that video data that obviously Vio help with, and no doubt your camera staff help with as well? Is it important to pair that with more sort of granular data as well, like running stats, amount of touches on the ball, possession, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we use metrics at Burnley. So we have a particular ones for each position. So we have metrics for each position, all sort of made up from the coaches at Burnley that feel that that's what would benefit to get that player into our first team. I think the numbers are really important. I don't think it's the be end and end all. I think like we have players that score 30 odd goals, but it doesn't really mean that they're going to make it as a professional footballer, unfortunately. So I feel like the numbers and the data helps back up maybe a message, but I feel like the video and performances are more important.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So with all this data and video, etc., we're speaking to a lot of coaches out there today on this webinar who will be coaches. They won't be video analysts. They won't be, like you guys are, focusing on the data, focusing on possession, all that kind of thing. How can a coach incorporate video, so use something like Vio in a limited time frame? What are sort of your tips and tricks for that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we have a number of different platforms now. So obviously when your player contact isn't as much as you would be in an academy, maybe you're only seeing your players twice a week, 3 times a week. I think those times you really need to be on the pitch and playing football and really like coaching. So I'd say that the analysis side maybe take a back step a little bit, but there's a lot of time where like online platforms such as Vio, you can do it remotely and online. And I think all young lads nowadays have got laptops, iPads, phones, which you can access these platforms on. Really, really simple. Like we have coaches that are real technophobes, don't have a clue, never been on a laptop, really struggle. But I found it so easy to sort of connect with players like online. Just with like a click of a button, you've clipped something and you can add a comment. And you just that dialogue with a player at home. I think it's quite comfortable when they're not sort of around the peers and around the other players. They can sort of have a good chat with the coach, and I feel like it benefits on the training pitch as well. If you've got a message that you've shown, a clip from a game, you can sort of add that into your coaching when you're on the pitches. So you can say, remember that clip that I showed you last week about such a thing. This is that exact moment. We're going to replicate it on the pitch. And I just think it adds that extra layer onto your coaching as well. So yeah, I think honestly, we've got a few coaches at work who are real technophobes, but I've got a real on board with video analysis. Yeah,
that's good to hear. I think a lot of maybe, let's say, more seasoned coaches won't have had an introduction to video analysis as maybe coaches who are sort of budding coaches who are 17, 18, 19. So it's important to know that something like Vio is accessible to them. So that's good to hear. As an analyst yourself, I know it's not, even working for a Burnley or a Man City or an Arsenal, it's not all roses all the time. What are sort of your main challenges that you face as an analyst, sort of day in, day out in an academy?
Yeah, so I think the main challenge for an analyst at the minute is the technology sort of continuing to develop like each year. So like, for example, right here, we're talking about a product that I didn't even know existed a couple of years ago. I think year on year, there's something new comes out, something more, and it all helps. All helps the player, and if it benefits, then it's great. I think it's really sort of like sieving through those things and seeing what works for you best. Like you sort of learning on the job as that's the hardest thing really, because when I first started, we didn't have Huddle, we didn't have VO, we didn't have telestration software to sort of animate videos and things like that. So I feel that's quite a challenge, the amount of the continuing development of sort of technology.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
And I think for your sort of smaller maybe coaches, for teams that have not maybe got all the technology, and I think just that buy-in from a coach is everything. So if the coach and the analyst really understand each other and really get each other. So I have conversations every single day. I sit opposite the coaches. They know that I will sort of challenge them on things. They'll challenge me on things. And it's just, I think that's a real challenge, because I think if your coach doesn't buy into analysis, I think it's really tough to sort of get it to the players.
Yeah, for sure. No, all good stuff. Well, that's really timely, actually. Arben, who's just written in the text box, are you guys using VO at your practice? And luckily, Sean, you have been. So what I'll do now is you're going to take us through a sort of demo feedback session, which is what you were going to give, or what you would give your back four, and that's going to be really useful for people to understand how Sean gives feedback and how feedback is constructed, I suppose. So what we'll do, Sean, if you want to take you through sort of your beliefs, and then we'll go on to the video section.
Yeah, so I think at Burnley, the real big thing is we simplify everything. So we don't want to give too much to the player to sort of overbear them and they're thinking about 1,000,001 things before a game. So we sort of really zone in on maybe like the important things that we want from the players, or from this case, the back four. So this is something that has been discussed with the coaches, with the club, the academy, and we feel that these things that you can see right now, if you can tick off 8 or 9 of those things in a game, that you'll have a good game and we'll hopefully win. So as a back four, they know that those 11 things right there, that's what they have got to focus on. They're the things that will get them a contract ultimately. So these are the things that after every game we try and tick off, and the players know it, the coaches know it. It happens every single week, and the lads just get used to it. So these are just a few of the things. I won't go through them all, but these are some of the Burnley sort of traits as a back four. We sort of say nick yards, shoulders turned. So it's like a Burnley language. We use Burnley language, which maybe other people may not understand, but players, the coaches understand. Sort of defend the maybes, stay in your four. These are all things that are like Burnley language, and the players understand. So this is just a typical sort of unit analysis that we would do on a weekly basis. So there's only 3 clips, but the 3 clips are quite important. Win, lose you a game. So as you can see here, this is footage from just a normal camera. This is the sort of general footage that you would get at an academy game. Sort of not too high, we're using high pods, we're using gantries, but they're all sort of similar height. So this is the sort of general view that you would get of a football pitch in an academy game. As you can see, the ball's with the goalkeeper right now, and we can only see half the pitch. So we don't have a clue what our back four are doing right now. We don't know if they're deep. We don't know if they're high. We don't know. So as you can see there, the goalkeeper's kicked it, and unfortunately for us, it's a bad kick, and we get possession of the ball. But if the keeper's kick is a good one, and we're far too deep, and the space between the units are too big, this can cause a real big problem for us and can put us on the back foot, and ultimately could cost us a goal. But from the video here, we cannot see the back foot at all. So we don't know where they are, where they're stood, if they're in line, if they're zigzag. So yeah, if you just play the video on, ultimately we win the ball, and we can just see now they're just getting into shot, the back four and the high. So which is good, which is what we want. But in an analysis session, if we can't see the back four, we usually go to the VO, which is in the next clip. So it might look a little bit different because it's on the other side of the pitch, but it is exactly the same clip. So as you can see, the ball is with the keeper right now. He's just about to play out from the back. And as you can see, we compare it with our footage, and just with a scroll of the mouse, you can straight away see where the back four is stood. We can see that the high, they're ready to contact if the ball's loose. We can see that there's the distance between the units are tight, and ultimately that's a really good clip for us. That's where we want the back four, and with the use of VO, we can see exactly where the back four is, which is perfect for us. So again, this is the next clip. Again, the opposition are playing out from the back. This time we're actually focusing on the goalkeeper. So this is a ball that's been played in behind our defence. We don't really know where the goalkeeper stood. If the goalkeeper stood high on the edge of his box, he could quite easily come and collect it, kick out a play, deal with it himself. If he stood on his goal line, it might be a bit up in the air, he can come and collect it. We don't actually know from this footage because we cannot see him. If you just play the video on, the ball goes in behind, it causes us a problem, and ultimately we scramble it and just get away with it. So we pair this with our VO footage, which is next. So as you can see, the opposition are playing out from the back. They're about to play in behind. But now with the use of VO, we can actually see where the goalkeeper stood, and we can see that the goalkeeper's actually stood on the edge of the box, which is actually a really good position. And later in the video, you can see the attacker takes his first touch, probably just outside the box, which was where the goalkeeper was initially stood. So we could say to the goalkeeper, we've got the goalkeeper coach here, we've got the back four here, we could say, look, you're in a great position to come and intercept that ball. I think have a bit more confidence and you can come and collect that. But with the use of VO, we've got that image, and we can tell the player that information.
Perfect.
And I think just one more clip. Again, very similar. The opposition are playing out from the back. From the normal footage, we can't see really where they started to build up, where the back four were, why we were so deep, and how the player was initially allowed to build up and drive forward. Which ultimately that was a problem for us because we were conceded chances. So yeah, it's the video again. So from here, we can't actually see where the back four are. We don't know if they're too deep, if the opposition have got runners in behind, so we have to drop. We don't know because we can't see it. We don't know where our fullback is. It was a real problem. So again, with the VO footage, we paired it up. again. So we would stop it sort of around here. We could drag the screen and we can see exactly where every player is on the pitch. We can see that the opposition have got runners in behind, which means that back four have had to drop because there was a threat in behind. So we can sort of understand why they were deep with that information. So it's been really valuable to have this footage in our analysis sessions.
It's a bit like, I suppose, an all-seeing eye. There's so much truth in it because, as you know, sort of when you look at normal cameras that move and follow the action with the ball, which obviously VO does as well, using the broadcast mode, but with the interactive mode that you're using, it tells no lies. You can follow anything that you want. You can see if a player on the other side of the pitch is picking his nose, for instance, like and not paying attention. Like, I think that's a key.
I think the players, there's no hiding when you're on that pitch. With the camera, you can see from goalkeeper to goalkeeper, so we can see where every player is on that position on the pitch.
Yeah. Okay. And I think you've got the final video just to highlight.
So this was later on in the season. So with a lot of use of like analysis and a lot of back four clips and a lot of sessions like you've just seen, we can see that the back four are high. They're on the halfway line. The distance between the units very tight, and ultimately the opposition are finding it very difficult to sort of break us down. I think with a lot of analysis and a lot of teaching and getting the fine details right in those sessions, like oppositions were finding it very difficult to sort of break us down. And I think this was due to like the information that we were giving them, like week in, week out. They knew where the ball was, where they were supposed to be on the pitch. You can see there, as the ball goes back, the players are nicking yards at the back, they're getting high. And this is just I think it's like a minute clip where we don't actually touch the ball, but we love this because we knew that the work that we've been doing in those sessions had been paying off, because teams were finding it more difficult to break us down, which ultimately is what you want. Yeah,
it's so good to hear like a coach talk about people without the ball, or an analyst talking about people, because it's so good to hear that even though this team has possession, you know that your players are in exactly the right spot, and it's almost like you enjoy that. I think you've only got to look at the Burnley's first team. I think their possession stats throughout the whole season aren't actually that great, but because they've got to where they have been this year, because they've had such a discipline about where they are on the pitch, and they have such an understanding of that.
Burnley, especially in the Premier League, we've not been blessed with like high amounts of percentage of possession. So we have to sort of teach the out possession game. Obviously, there's a lot of in possession stuff that goes on behind the scenes as well. But like when we're coming up against good teams, we're probably going to know that we're going to not have the ball for a lot of the game. So just being hard to beat is really beneficial for us, because as soon as we got the ball and we can break quickly, we've got a chance of scoring. And the analysis side is just, like I said, it's just put an extra layer onto the coaching and just giving that extra detail to the players, so they just know exactly what they're supposed to be doing on the pitch at that time, which really helps.
Yeah. Again, it just comes back to the point that it is. You mentioned at the start that you don't want to completely control players in such an aggressive way, but it is really important to be very dedicated to video analysis, because if you perhaps don't have you can have all the gifted players in the world, but if you don't have that organisational stuff, you'll never compete in the Premier League. You'll never compete against other academies.
Exactly.
So far.
Yeah, so like Burnley, we're not blessed with the greatest of weather. Sometimes it's hailing, it's raining, it's cold. Players don't want to be stood there listening to the coach for 10-15 minutes while they're explaining exactly what they want. They want to be playing, they want to be running around, they want to be playing football, which is what they're out there training to do, what they're coaching to be doing. So there is some coaching that goes on, great coaching, but I feel like the smaller, finer details within the game are done in these sort of sessions and can sort of have a real good feedback with player and coach, which sometimes you can't really have when you've got a full squad or a full team out on the pitch and you're shouting and right across the pitch. You don't get that where you're doing an analysis video session.
Yeah, I think that comes back to, I'm just going to end the video there. That brings us back to, if I go and share my screen again, can you see the webinar, Sean? Can you see the slides, or are they out of your picture now?
No, I can't see the slides now.
Okay. Let me come out of the video. How about now?
I can see the last slide. Okay. So after every game, we sort of tick off our back four beliefs, as to say. So in this game, the game that you just watched, the clips, we actually won that game 4-2, but there were a number of things on our beliefs that we didn't actually tick off. So out of the 11, we only ticked off sort of 6.5. So after a full season, we can sort of like put all these together and actually see where we're sort of not doing so great, where we need to improve on, where we're doing really, really well. So we might, for the last 6 weeks, we might be nicking yards and shoulders turned really, really well, but we're not stopping crosses. We're not defending and blocking. So that we can see just by using these sort of beliefs and just ticking off and keeping track of it every week, where we need to work on and what will make the players better, really.
Yeah, it's really nice to see that there is a marking system behind it all. It's not just unstructured shouts from the side of a pitch and
yeah.
all that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, just before we go on to the questions, how much of the work you do is, I'm just going to allude to the Brad Pitt film Moneyball. How much is backed up, keeping players and releasing players by the data and the video? Like, how much decision making on players is made by that?
We use the data to sort of confirm what we already sort of know, I'd say. A lot of decisions on maybe retaining and releasing players are still very sort of opinions on players, and sometimes we don't get it right. A lot of clubs don't get it right. You see it all the time where we release players and then they go on to have great careers. But we do use metrics and we use the data, and we use it to sort of have it in the background and just help us sort of see what we already sort of really know, but just to confirm it. So some players, some coaches have real sort of favourites in the team, sort of like, oh, he's my favourite player. But then you sort of look at the stats, and he's not actually producing that many crosses, that many shots. He's not being effective in the game. And I think with the numbers and mirroring it with the footage, you can sit down with the player and just sort of and discuss it, and it's really powerful to have the numbers and also the footage together with a player. And as you said, there's no sort of real hiding place if a player is doing well or if he's not doing well. And also sometimes the numbers are great and it plays really well for the player. If you're doing better than the player that's above you or in a different age group, it's saying that you're doing well and you can progress. Yeah,
definitely. But that is a bit of a heartbreaking area of your job, right? Having to release players and having to sort of focus on the data in that respect. And it's obviously one of the challenges that you face, but I suppose as you said, as we discussed before, it's often a gut. It's not just driven by the data. It's often a gut feeling.
Yeah. I think footballs are very much an opinion. Everyone's got an opinion on everyone, and it doesn't always mean that they're right. Sometimes it does mean that they're right, but yeah, we use the numbers to back up what we think, but we don't use the numbers as a definite. So if the player has really good numbers, it doesn't mean that he's definitely going to get a contract. If he has poor numbers, it doesn't definitely mean that he's not going to get a contract. It's just there's a lot of different factors, but we use it to just back up what we think.
Yeah. Support. So you use the evidence to support whatever your opinion is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good. So let's go to some questions. We have loads of questions about the VO product that are coming up here. They will be answered. Look, get in touch with us directly via sort of our email, our website, our sales guys, and sort of ask those types of questions that are really pertaining to the product, i.e. battery life. I've seen some questions about pricing, all that kind of thing. We're not going to deal with those right now, so we just don't have time. We're going to deal with the more sort of stuff for Sean. I did see a really interesting question about, so Jamie has asked, how are the belief system that you have in place at Burnley, how are they tracked? And do you code every time a player sort of does something? Is it that detailed? I think really is his question.
Yeah, if you were to see my code window that I use for the games, especially for the under 18s and 23s, where you're looking into a lot of detail, there is a lot. So yeah, every touch a player has is coded. Ultimately, not every touch is important and what we're looking for, but if we wanted to look at every single touch one player has, it's quite easy to do. In terms of what we're looking for, I code sort of our beliefs. So like everything like what you've just seen. So like back four getting up, every time we do it really well, every time we don't do it so well. So yeah, so straight after a game, I know what the coach is going to ask for. He's going to want to see those 11 things in the footage. So I'll have it ready for if our game's on a Saturday, I'll do it on a Sunday, ready for the Monday meeting. So straight away he'll say, I want to see our back four clips, and I'll have them straight away. And I'll with the sort of buy-in and relationship that we have, we sort of know I know what he wants to show the players.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important as well. Like, I don't want to just be showing him a load of random stuff that he doesn't want to see. It's time wasted. So
yeah,
through those clips is really important, and digging out the things that he really wants to show the players is important.
Yeah, perfect. We've had a few questions about the last clip that Sean showed where he had the players circled. That final clip that we showed, the very last one, was not from VO. It was from obviously using different software to paint the lines on, etc. But you actually can draw lines and highlight players in VO as well. Obviously,
the telestration software is something different, but we telestrate VO footage all the time. Sometimes it's a lot better because the footage from the VO is a little bit clearer than our normal cameras that we use. So it's easier to draw the lines and ultimately like get a good picture. We use a lot of the telestration quite a lot because it's quite engaging for the players, and it's quite to see what the message is, what you try to get across.
Yeah, I think that emphasises the fact that particularly the professional academies, and there are a lot of professional academies on here today, that there is not a VO is not the be all and end all in an academy, or even in any football club in some cases, because you have obviously data vests, you have over software that you can telestrate with, you can have lots of different means in which that you can develop players, and obviously Sean and Bernie use VO for a very specific thing, which is to follow players and track players when they don't have the ball, or follow players that are out of shot, or generally have a nice area in which players can go and access their video. So lots of people would use it in many different ways to make that clear. We have another question from Adam. I heard you only use VO up to the under-23s. Is there a reason you do not use it with the first team? And that moves obviously nicely on from the point I was just making. Why wouldn't you use VO with the first team? And I think it's quite important to say sort of maybe where VO is really great and where perhaps you can use other things as well. Yeah,
so we use it to the 23s because a lot of 23s football is still played at academy grounds. The footage isn't great. For a lot of first teams where you're available to have obviously be in a stadium, the camera height and everything, you can really get the full pitch in. I know that on a game day at a first team game, there's hundreds of cameras which wouldn't be available on an academy game. So the first team don't really need to use it as they've got so many cameras on a match day. They've got the technology built into the stadiums where they can see the full pitch. I think this VO is really just for the times where you don't have a stadium, where you're just on a pitch, you're on a grass field, or you're in a small stadium with not much elevation. Just so that you've got that the same that you would on a first team game where you can see the full pitch. So that's probably the reason why the first team don't use it. They could use it on a training session, 11v11 at the training ground if they wanted to, but that's just the gaffer's choice.
Yeah. No, I think it is important to highlight the fact that there are, more expensive cameras out there that are fixed in stadiums that obviously have a live feed and that are, either manned or unmanned, that do similar stuff to VO. The difference between VO, I think, and the other, what else is out there right now, is just the price and the affordability. A academy like Burnley will have 2 or 3 or 4 VOs around the ground, and it's just very portable, very easy to go and film different pictures at different times. Whereas if you have just a fixed solution, or a solution that has wires to it and all sort of paraphernalia with it, it's very difficult to have that flexibility. So of course we know we're not the only solution, but we firmly believe at VO that we are sort of the solution that enables sports clubs and football clubs of all levels and ages to use video analysis in their practice. Another one, a bit off topic, Sean, or off this topic, was what advice from Cathal? What advice would you give a student who has just finished their sports science degree and wants to become a professional analyst?
From university, I did a lot of work placements for not much money. To be fair, I worked at Blackburn Rovers for 2 years, just on a work experience, just gaining as much experience as I can. Just saying yes to everything, really. Some things not so great, some things really great. I think saying yes to things gets you a long way. So doing a lot of the crappy stuff and saying yes, ultimately they'll be like, yeah, we'll get you in again. And I was doing stuff with the first team for a bit at Blackburn, just from saying yes and just getting out there. And ultimately, with the experience that I got from Blackburn, it really pushed and helped me get a job at Burnley. So I wouldn't have got that job at Burnley if I hadn't done the crappy stuff before it, where I was just filming in the rain or coding like loads of games, like under-9 games where you're like, I don't really want to do this, but just sort of keep going at it. That experience takes you a long way, and it's really helped me.
It's hard graft, right? When you first start off in any job, in coaching and analysis and anything, you do have to do the dirty work. I think. And for an analyst, I know from obviously going to the various conferences here in the UK and abroad that a lot of it actually is holding a camera to film a game, and you don't really get to do much else. Would you say, Sean, that maybe VO is an educational tool in that respect, so it can actually alleviate young analysts to have to focus on being a decent camera person to actually focusing on their job or their future job, which is to analyze football?
Absolutely. I think for a few months when I was at Blackburn, that's all I was doing. I was just filming games, not even being asked to code anything, just literally like hand over the footage and we'll deal with the rest. But with like technology like this now, you can sort of alleviate the filming aspects, and you can be doing so much more. So we have students that are working with myself that don't have to worry about filming. They can live code, for example. We can teach them how to be coding live and looking at things in the game. We've got them using iPads to code. Yeah, it's just it's really, really good. Like, I wish it had it obviously when I was at Blackburn, and I could have been doing a bit more hands-on things rather than filming. But yeah, no, I agree with what you said. It's a good tool for that. Yeah.
Good stuff. And Joey has asked, we've only got time for a couple more, but Joey has asked, are you able to freeze the screen and draw and highlight on it? Also, can you do what was shown in the connecting lines, highlighting players, videos, etc.? Can you talk about how you clip individuals and how long that takes to clip? A lot of that, Joey, was actually on the previous webinar that Jerry and Sam from Kellerup did a couple of weeks ago. But in answer to all your questions, yes, you can draw on it. Yes, you can create your own user-directed highlights in like what Sean showed us today. You can direct your own highlights and move the camera around and record that, etc. You can, as I said, draw lines, draw boxes, tag players, centralized player profiles. Again, I definitely don't think that everyone uses, it's a product, right? No, not everyone uses an individual product completely perfectly at all times. People have different uses for it in which pertain to what they do on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, for sure, Joey, reach out to one of our colleagues in Copenhagen, and they'll be sure to talk you through all of that stuff, or go to the previous webinar that we posted a couple of weeks ago. The other question that I saw, Sean, was mainly around sort of other systems that you use, and is VO compatible with those systems? Because I know you do use other systems. There's no, you don't want to make a secret out of it at all. Does VO enhance those other systems, or do you use it separately? How does it work?
So yeah, usually we use it alongside our normal footage. So yeah, like you said, we're not hiding. Like usually 18s, 23s games, we will film with a normal camera, but also use the VO as well, because we know that we want the VO footage you can't get straight after a game. So some coaches love seeing clips straight after a game, and they want to see it instantly. So they want to see goals, they want to see decisions straight after a game. So that's why we film. With the VO, we use it for the 2 or 3 days later when we want to use it for the analysis aspect. When we want to zoom around, we want to see where players are on the pitch. So yeah, we ultimately, like, for the younger age groups, from like the 9s to 12s, we download the footage from VO straight off there, and then we stick it in sports code, and we can tag, we can code the footage from VO. Really helps.
Great. It's nice to hear that it's supplemented by other products as well. And yeah, guys, we've gone over actually by 5 minutes now. That's all we have time for. Thanks so much for all of you tuning in from around the world. We've seen Brazil, Portugal, India, Dubai, San Diego, so many places where people have come on board. So thanks so much for tuning in. We will have another webinar in a couple of weeks' time, which will keep you informed about with Eva and Jerry, which probably will be a lot more focused on the product itself and how to use the product directly. And basically be like a
LongoMatch is a video analysis tool that helps coaches, analysts and athletes to improve their game tactics. To start your video analysis using LongoMatch, you must follow 3 simple steps. Select a video from your computer or analyze your game in real time using an HDMI, IP camera or tablet. Set up your team. Use the analysis dashboard already included in LongoMatch, customize it or create your own. Now you can start analyzing your game. Code, tag and draw the actions you want to save. Use multiple videos at the same time. Zoom in the video image to view more details of the action and add and save your comments. Thanks to LongoMatch, you can create playlists or presentations filtered by action, player or different games. Review and share them with your team. Generate advanced statistics of your analysis and export them to an Excel spreadsheet for a more customized analysis. Start improving your team's performance today.